When we were kids, Dad always told us that if half the noodles that went into our mouth didn't then also fall back out of our mouth and back into the soup, that we weren't being good Chinese. I'm all dolled up because I just shot a work video with Kat, so don't get used to this kind of face, that sort of thing. But I got an email from my mom this morning about, our biracial identity as children growing up, which we really didn't talk about when we were kids, and got me thinking about all kinds of things that, I do think about them quite a lot, but it's definitely up right now around what it actually means to be Chinese, or to be Canadian, or to be an American in New Zealand. There's obviously a whole bunch of different ways that I could identify myself at any given moment. But one of the things that's been so interesting about moving to New Zealand is that I have been feeling a lot more Chinese, in much the same way that I felt a lot more Chinese when I moved to the Richmond district of San Francisco. One of the first things that I noticed moving to New Zealand, which was the first time I'd ever even been to New Zealand, is that it feels very much like Hong Kong, in that it is a British colony and the accent is a lot more British than anything else. But there are quite a lot of Asians here, like a lot more than I was expecting, even though, we did look at the statistics and the demographics before we got here, but it's really Asian. We moved into a neighborhood that, our particular street was more Indian than Chinese, but a few streets over, that was the Chinese main drag, similar to the Richmond district would be in San Francisco. And I really liked that. I love that one of the first things that we discovered was what is now our favorite Asian grocery store. So a lot of the things that I used to buy back home from places like 99 Ranch in El Cerrito, I can buy at any number of Asian grocery stores here. So everything from my favorite tinned fish, which is the tinned eel, to the same brands of dried noodles that I would get back home, or Chinese veggies. All of that sort of stuff is also available here, so that's pretty cool. So between that and living again in a predominantly Chinese neighborhood, I have been feeling a lot more Chinese. So sure, growing up, it was clear that I was not the same as all the other kids, and it was also clear that I wasn't the same as the other 100% Asian kids, but I don't think that, other than occasional feelings of pride around being Chinese, like when we celebrated Chinese New Year, and then my mom, who is not my Chinese parent, she's my Canadian European parent, she would come and make fried wontons and teach the kids about Chinese New Year. So that was pretty cool. So I obviously felt pride in my Asian heritage at moments like that, but I don't feel like growing up I really had a super strong sense of being Chinese or being mixed race. I think that the lens or the identity that really shaped how I viewed the world was not based on my cultural heritage, but was more based on the fact that it was really around privilege. I grew up in what was, at least at some point, the wealthiest county in all of the United States, and then the school we were going to was a very expensive private school, which further filtered who would be able to attend, even though they did offer a few scholarships. I think so often, especially in American culture, people identify with their job or their work, and that's never really fit for me unless you would put it on a much larger scale, like I help people start businesses based on things that they're passionate about, or I help people make a living doing the things that they want to be doing. That's super vague, but that feels a lot more strong to me than like, oh, I am a global small business content producer, which is my actual job description. I do at the moment identify more strongly as a writer, but it really wasn't until I attended the Mesa Refuge writing retreat, and this is like a very competitive writing retreat program for people that are somehow addressing social justice or sustainability issues through their writing. And it was a really awesome experience, but it was really only when I was there that I felt like, wow, I am now a writer. I just won this opportunity to be honored as a writer and for them to hold space for me as a writer. So, since then, I've really been trying to own that more, but I really needed that outside validation to take on that identity in a way that I felt like I could really claim. So I can't go on and on this topic, although I wish I could, because I gotta get back to work. But I did want to leave you with some questions, of course, around this sense of cultural identity or identity in general. And when is it that your cultural heritage is the primary lens through which you view the world, or the primary lens through which other people view you, versus some other way of identifying yourself, whether that's through the lens of privilege or from the sense of citizenship or whatever else. There's probably a million ways that we all identify ourselves. So that's it, short and sweet. Let's talk about identity and all of its lovely messiness.